Welcome back for another episode of Free Play Hoops. Me and Meech are going to talk about Trae Young's impending trade requests, especially to the Washington Wizards. It's going to be a short one today, but it'll be a fun one. So
Yeah,
excited to get started.
our buddy Joey over here, not feeling too well, so everyone wish him better health and a better hat. No one likes the Cubs over here. All right, Joe. Let's just start off with Trae Young here. A report came out that Trae Young's preferred trade destination is the Washington Wizards. Joe, why would he choose the Wizards?
When I look at the Wizards, I see a lot, especially for CJ McCollum, but a lot of the young guys. They have the Trey Johnsons, the Bub Carringtons. They all are more just shooting guards. They're shorter shooting guards that somehow just bring the ball up. They've got a lot of the same. I think they lack that main ball handler. And I think Keyshawn George has had a great season, but I don't think he's a primary ball handler. And I think that is somewhere I think Trae Young can really benefit from being the primary ball handler.
Yeah,
You've got a very
but
skilled.
I was gonna say yeah, but this is what I don't understand. I get it from the Wizards' perspective, but why would Trae Young want to go to Washington out of all places he could go? Washington is one of the worst franchises in the league. Yeah, they have some cool like pairings they could pair him up with, with like an Alex Sarr, but I just don't see why he would want to go to Washington.
I think the thing is, when you look at the landscape of the league, I think we've kind of seen the hesitancy that teams want to re-sign these big contracts or extend them unless like it's 100% worth it. And I think with Washington, they definitely believe that Trae Young can contribute to this team. I think they have the expiring contracts of CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton primarily that can make this deal work. It's just a matter of, Trae Young wants to be extended. He wants to be a place where he belongs.
Yeah, but
But
why Washington? Like you look at Washington, they have some young, intriguing young pieces, right? But I feel like as a player, that's one of the last places you would want to go, especially if you like want to win. Like Trae Young hasn't won shit. I
exactly.
just
I think he just wants money. I think he wants like a solidified place that he can be for years instead of,
like does he
you
kind of
know,
want? Do you think he kind of wants to be how the Hawks were a few years ago, where he was just like the main guy and it
I
was
think
his
so.
team, and he kind of just does what he wants, and he just doesn't like. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It just
I think
baffles me.
I think the basketball fit makes sense, but I think the timeline fit does not. And I don't know if that's the best deal for the Wizards to make. I think there's plenty of other guys that I think you can get in future drafts where you could get a guy that can be your main ball handler
Yeah.
next to a Keyshawn George, next to an Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly,
You
Trey
know, that's a
Johnson, whoever you may have. But
yeah, that's a good point because I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, this draft class that's coming up is supposed to be loaded.
it's supposed to be
So
insane. It's supposed
so
to be
wouldn't
insane.
they want, I know you're not supposed to tank, but trading for a guy that will obviously improve your team in a guy like Trae Young, I feel like it would just make more sense for the Wizards just to thug it out this season, get a higher lottery pick and just draft a guard like you're saying.
I just feel like there's no pressure for the Wizards to compete right now. I mean, I think,
There's
like you
not,
said,
yeah.
they're already bad. They already have a decent amount of picks left at their disposal. I don't know if they're gonna have to give up any sort of picks for a Trae Young. I think for the Hawks, they just kind of want cap flexibility instead of having Trae Young opt in after this
Yeah.
season for I think like 48 or 49 million dollars. But I think at the same time, it's just, you know,
So
I
how
just don't understand it from a age perspective.
How do you see the fit of Trae Young and Alex Sarr? Wait, let me reword
I,
that. Hold on. How do you? So do you think that Trae Young and Alex Sarr will be a good duo together and they'll benefit off each other?
I think on paper it will. I think back when the Hawks took Ricochet and there was talk about Sarr, but Alex Sarr did not want to go to Atlanta. I don't know if it was a Trae issue. I don't really know what the issue was there. I think on paper it was, but I'm on paper I think that it will make sense and I think it will fit. But I think also if you're trying to win games, maybe Trae Young will see himself take a lot more shots rather than trying to find an Alex Sarr rolling to the hoop or just letting him work. So, but at the end of the day, I think I had addressed this in podcasts before. I think Trae Young's game has to just mature a little bit as far as his decision making goes and his shot selection goes. And I think now I'm hoping that this trade talk in him eventually going to a team like the Wizards instead of a team that has a real chance of competing for a championship, that he can really mature and, help these young guys grow a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that. I just it's just hard to be a Trae Young in the league because he is like the worst defender in the league, and you have to make up offensively, which he does, but also it's very hard in today's game to just hide someone defensively. I mean, you could put him in the corner, but now it's just such a pick and roll game where like they're gonna like the other team's just gonna draw up plays to get him involved in every single play, to where it's hard. Where it was kind of nice when he was surrounded by Dyson Daniels, just a perimeter stopper. You know,
Right. And especially that's the thing. They don't want to, like, these guys don't want to pay 45, 48 million dollars for a guy that is a liability on the defensive end and, takes ill-advised shots that we all know
yeah,
Trae Young is capable of. So that I could definitely see where that would frighten a lot of these teams and probably why some of these other teams that are in the Trae Young talks and that probably could use a guy like Trae Young, that I think of a Minnesota or maybe even a Cleveland. I'm not sure exactly how
mm,
that would work with the second apron, but
yeah.
I just I don't see how that works. I don't see them wanting to extend a guy like Trae Young. So maybe they're not willing to give up as much. And I think that's probably why there's not as much of a market for him.
Yeah. I like how you brought up Cleveland there because I got an interesting question for you. I mean, Cleveland's in a really weird spot. They've been very mediocre. Let's say they continue down this path of mediocrity. If you were the Cavs GM, who would you trade first? Would you trade Jared Allen or would you trade Darius Garland?
I'm on record saying that I think the Cavs issue is more in the backcourt versus the front court. I think Jared Allen, yeah, you're paying him a lot of money to do what he does, but he does what he does at a very high level, I think. But I think you kind of need another like two-way shooting guard or point guard to pair up next to Donovan Mitchell.
Um,
And I think we've kind of seen a little bit this year that whenever Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland have good games, it's when the other person's out. And so I think there is a place in the league. And I like that we're bringing up the Cavs because I feel like Darius Garland is a very similar player to what I think Trae Young can be, who's incredibly skilled, who has a great handle on the ball, brings gravity into the paint with their finishing ability, their handle, foot game. They can shoot a little bit, but I think the thing stopping Trae Young for being that Darius Garland type of player is just the shot selection.
I
But
think I don't know. I understand what you're saying where it's a backcourt issue rather than a front court issue, but I'm pretty sure recently Jared Allen just hasn't been closing out games. So is it and I feel like a lot of teams will benefit from a center like that, where you could get good pieces to where maybe you could get another nice bench player who could be that defensive stopper, like you said, or a two-way guy who would be great next to a Donovan Mitchell. They'll get a lot of minutes. And it's just, I feel like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen was a good experiment to run together. I thought the fit was there. but I also do think now that it's stunting Mobley's growth. I feel like we've seen him kind of hit a plateau and he hasn't been getting much better over the last season or two. So I think for that reason, I would trade Jared Allen. I just think he's easier to move. I guess there is a market right now for these point guards, like you said, like Minnesota. It's just I feel like there's just more of a market for a guy like Jared Allen.
I think the counter that I have for that, yes, Allen is very good at what he does, but at the same time, why would I go and get a guy like Jared Allen where I could go to Dallas and ask about a guy like Daniel Gafford for significantly less money, who
Yeah,
pretty much
yeah,
does a lot of what he does, what a lot of what Jared Allen does.
yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah, there is a lot of cheaper options. Yeah, and I guess I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, Jared Allen hasn't proved like he a winning player is what I'm trying to get at here, Joe. Is Jared Allen a winning player? He hasn't been on any of these teams that have gone really far in the playoffs. You know, like I can we label him a winning player?
I think he just hasn't had a lot of the pieces put like he hasn't had a lot of the right pieces put around him. And what I'm saying is I think when you think about his last few years in Cleveland, when Evan Mobley shared the front court with him,
Yeah.
he's a guy who didn't really get his three off until maybe his like third season in the league, and they were really clogging the paint in that area. Both of them are very good rim protectors. They're not really like that good of rebounders, but at the same time, like I think you need to put like a stretch four next to him to
Like
where he
who?
can really.
Like where would he be a good fit? Like who would be a good four next to him?
I think I'm gonna finish my thought in a little bit, but stretch four, a playmaking guard that will actually look to get him involved versus having these like two guys in the backcourt that can score on their own. In that case, I feel like there's not many guys in the league. There's not very many teams in the league that I think would really like be a good fit for him. I would
Yeah.
like to see him on the Bulls, honestly. I
Yeah, I
think
know.
he's a
Yeah, I
guy
was thinking about that too.
and I hate to bring up the Bulls every time, but at the same time, we have a lot of cap space coming up. We have a good playmaker that will actually look to get Jared Allen involved.
Yeah.
I think putting him next to another like a guy like who can stretch the floor at the four, like whether you put Bazelis there or you slide Bazelis to the three and get someone else there. Like I think even a Jalen Smith, I think would fit really nice next to him.
Mm,
But that's just me personally.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, I could see. I just think it's really hard to really pair him up with someone. I mean, he's making how much is he making? Do you know?
I think he's making like 30 million a year.
Yeah, that's where it's tough. Where you're right. It's just better to go get like a Gafford or go get a like a Derek Lively, where it's just like these rim runners who are cheap and you could like use them as role players. I mean, Jared Allen's great. It's just like you can't be paying that much money unless he's a depoy every single year, which he's not. Like a Rudy Gobert can make that kind of money because Rudy Gobert is a top defensive player in the league every single year. You
But
know?
even then, we've seen Rudy Gobert make like $40 million, but then the Wolves had re-signed him to a much more team-friendly deal. Because
Yeah.
I think they've also realized, hey, like this type of player is taking up so much money on our cap sheet, and we don't really have much money to make all these other improvements around our roster. And the way I'm, and that they already had to send Cat out. I don't know
Yeah,
what's
that
going to happen
didn't
with,
work. I don't know
you know,
why they even thought that was a
you
good
know what I'm
idea.
saying? Like, you had to pay Ant at some point.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert was already getting paid a lot. They extended Cat at the time before they traded him to some like $60 million a year deal. They had to ship him out. They had
But
to
we're both
extend Anthony Edwards, and then they
yeah.
had to sign Gobert to a lesser deal.
Well, we both feel the same way about Cat. I'm pretty sure. I think we've talked about this before. I don't like Cat. I don't think Cat's a winning player. I do think he's gonna hold the Knicks back when it comes to playoff time. Um, I don't see how you could win a championship with Cat on like being your starting center. Um,
Yeah, I think
I just
I
think
think
he's too
there's a
much of a defensive liability. He's very streaky, which could be great or it could be terrible. You know, if he's putting up, if he's really hot in the playoffs, like you're gonna want him. But if he's not doing anything offensively, he's not great defensively where he can make up for it. He's a very
yeah.
streaky guy.
I think it's really hard to find a roster or the role players to put around a cat because, like you said, he's very defensively inept at that
Yeah.
five position. Or whenever you put him at the four, it's looked a little better, like we saw in that Minnesota series against Denver, I think 2 years ago, where he's roaming around Jokic. He's athletic enough to hang around with Jokic and then just have Gobert just sag on Aaron Gordon, who wasn't splashing threes like he is now, but.
I do think they made that team to go against the Nuggets because
Mm,
I think that actually only really works against the Nuggets because they had a four like Aaron Gordon who's more of a rim threat than he is a shooting threat. So that did work with the two big guys. But I just feel like now it's just for a lot of teams, it's a lot of four out, one in. Offensively, a lot of pick and rolls where if you have a Cat and Gobert, like someone is just going to be put on an island at the top of the perimeter and they're too slow to keep up with any of these guards. I mean, Gobert, I won't lie, Gobert is sneakily quick. He could kind of keep up with these guards. Kind of. He's not great at it, but Cat just looks like a lost dog out there when he's put on the perimeter by himself.
yeah, and when I think about the teams in the East, when you go up against the Giannis, and I'm not sure if they'll really even get to the point where they make the playoffs.
That's
Well,
crazy.
I mean, we'll
That's
see.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy to say
No,
when you
no, you're
have a
right
top
though.
four. It's crazy to
Yeah.
say when you have a top like four player in the league right now, but
Yeah. No, but
again,
is
like this
that's
rock,
crazy. That is
that's
crazy.
insane. Yeah, but even when you think about these more winning teams like the Pistons, who we see Jalen Duren have these doses of on-ball creation and shot
Yeah.
creation, taking dudes off the dribble with pull-up middies, and he's just looked increasingly more skilled. And I think
Yeah, he's good.
he should win Most Improved this year.
Mhm.
I honestly really think so. But I think about all these other bigger guys in the East that you're probably going to have to go through in the playoffs, and I just don't know if a guy like Cat could really hang with them.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree completely. I mean, even when they lost to the Pacers last year, right? Don't. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yes, in the conference
Yeah.
finals, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the Pacers were very hot, right? No one was stopping that team as we saw. It was very hard to stop that team. But I mean, a team like the Knicks should have beat the Pacers. On paper,
Oh yeah.
I mean, a lot of those teams in the playoffs should have beat the Pacers. But I think it kind of just, I think Tom Thibodeau was kind of just used as a scapegoat. I don't think Tom Thibodeau was the reason why they couldn't beat the Pacers. Yes, he overworks his players. RIP Derrick Rose's knee. Moment of
I'm
silence.
glad. I'm also glad we're bringing up the Pacers too, and I'm trying to circle this back to the whole Trae Young thing. But we've kind of seen what a guy like Halliburton, that pass first guy, the value he's brought to his team and where this team can go. Like
Yeah.
obviously Miles Turner is not there anymore either, but at the
He
same time,
stinks
like
now, dude.
they
I'm
don't have
sorry.
a point guard in
They don't.
Milwaukee.
Like, who
So
is it Kevin Porter?
I think that contributes to his like kind of downfall in
Well, they
Milwaukee. They
have
paid him all this money.
yeah, and Cole. I mean, Cole Anthony's there. Cole Anthony's not a great point guard, but he was serviceable in Orlando. But I don't even think they play him that much in Milwaukee. I'm pretty sure
No, they don't.
because they roll out Kevin Porter, they roll out
Ryan Rollins.
Ryan Rounds, AJ Green.
Yeah,
That's
AJ
his name, right?
Green.
AJ Green,
Yeah, I
Giannis.
don't even know if
That
Torian
team is
Prince really
so
gets a whole
bad.
lot. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. Like the roster there is just not good, and I think that that definitely contributes to the downfall of Miles Turner there because they don't have a real point guard to get him involved.
dude, Kevin
And
Porter Jr. was playing overseas at the beginning of the year last year. How is this
yeah, and then
guy
the
the
Clippers
starting
got him.
point guard? Yeah.
He
No,
has been good though. He really has been good.
you're right.
But I'm
No,
not.
you're
He's
right.
not like
No, he
point.
has
He's
been.
not point. He's been great, but
I'm just
not in the way that I think they need him to be great.
I don't think he can really run. I think he's better as a six man, like how they had him last year. He would come in some games he'd get hot and he'd drop like 20. That's what they need from him.
He's a combo guard. He's not a floor general.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think, and again, like going back to the whole Tyrese Halliburton, Trae Young thing, is like the whole floor general archetype has kind of died down, and it's one of the more like underrated, like I'd say like hasn't really been seen as super important, but it really has. I mean, we've seen the Phoenix
Yeah.
Suns of a few years ago when they traded for Bradley Beal, who's just like their star player at that sense. You're locked up in all this cap space. You don't have the ability to get a real floor general that can create for everybody else and expect, Book or Kevin Durant or even Bradley Beal to, come into that role. But then we've seen them struggle. We've seen them not even make the play in.
I do, you don't even, like for the Bucks, it's weird though, because it's like with the Nuggets. Like the floor general for the Nuggets is Jokic. I feel like that's kind of the same
Exactly.
thing with Giannis in the Bucks, where Giannis is the floor general because he's so good at pulling people to him, and then he could see the guys on the other side of the court, and he could just whip it across. So I think
Right. But
that's why,
what,
like, no, go.
right. Right. But when have we seen a team with Giannis as the main ball handler ever go anywhere? You know what I'm
Uh,
saying?
the year they won the championship.
No. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton were there. They were handling the ball. Giannis was used more as a roll man. I think the more like
Yeah, no,
closer
but
time
no,
that we've really
no, but I'm
seen them
okay.
have
I think I
success
think I
is
think we're seeing it a little differently. I see it like they would find Giannis, they would give Giannis the ball, right? They would
right.
bring the ball up, but they would give Giannis the ball in the paint, and he would be the playmaker because he would use his gravity to find all these other people open and create the plays. I'm not saying I don't think they necessarily need a guy who's going to give you 10 assists a game like a Trae Young. I think
Okay,
they you know
I see what
you
you're
know what I'm
saying.
saying? I think that's why Drew Holiday was the perfect fit. A defensive lockdown that could shoot and it could also shot create a little bit. Like that's exactly what they need.
Yeah, and Chris Middleton stayed healthy if I remember correctly
Yeah,
too.
And Chris Mill. Oh, that
And
guy was.
people were saying that Chris Middleton was the best guy on that championship team.
Oh,
He
dude,
was
the way he was playing those playoffs. I mean, I'm pretty sure he might have been the greatest player of all time. Dude, it was like Bubble Warren out there. Like it was just unbelievable what he
Bubble
was doing.
Warren.
Dude, he literally turned into MJ in the playoffs. You ride the hot
But
hand
yeah,
though. That's what you have to do in the playoffs, you know? If
yeah,
it
but like again, like you have a guy like a Drew Holiday who can really handle on the perimeter
Yeah.
and be that floor general where you're not
Yeah.
asking him to score the ball a whole lot because once again, Chris Middleton's healthy.
Mhm.
You have a healthy Giannis up until I think like the conference finals of that year where
Yeah.
he missed like 2 games. He came back for game one of the finals, but again at the same time, like going back to the whole Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton thing, like the notate the narrative that Trae Young doesn't have value. I think there is value for him. It's just a matter of like, is anyone going to, pay him or is anyone going to extend him? No
I think
one's
if
really going to ask a whole lot about of him.
yeah, I think if he was just an average defender, everyone would want him. I think
Yeah.
his defensive liabilities is just really what kills that value.
I've just seen him check out
That's
so
true.
many times on that
Yeah.
end. And I think the narrative of like again, they're like the Hawks being so much better without him. I think yeah, they were good without him when he got hurt for like the first few games and then their defense took a nosedive.
Mhm.
So like I think it's a whole like roster construction problem. I don't think it's all on Trae Young. I think
I agree.
it just kind of gets bought into the whole narrative. But he's a talented player. I think Trae Young just needs to see it within himself what he can be and just kind of mature to be more of like a Tyrese Halliburton, to be more of like I'm not saying Drew Holiday, but because like Drew Holiday is one of the better perimeter defenders of all time, but like
Mhm.
that floor general who
Yeah.
you're not relying on him so much to score. And I think that's where like the Hawks see it as when I've observed it, when Trae Young's on the court, like they're all spacing out. They're all standing out there. They're spacing the floor. They're letting him drive the paint, get to that floater, or just kick it out to someone else.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of an offensive mechanism where I feel like the Hawks feel like they can replicate that just without a Trae Young being a facilitator. And I think they do have a point. It shouldn't take Trae Young to have everybody space the floor out and have someone like a Jalen Johnson get to the paint. You know what I mean? And kick
Yeah.
it out. I mean,
Yeah. I
Jalen
don't.
Johnson's averaging 8 assists this year,
Yeah. I don't
which is
know.
insane.
It's just weird to see. You got to definitely build around a Trae Young, which I just don't think the Hawks have, which we covered before on last episode. It's just they just haven't really tried. So it's going to be interesting how the Wizards, if they do land him or wherever he goes, it's just going to be interesting to see how he can pair up with those teammates and see if it's actually a good fit or not. Because I agree, if he's in the right spot, I think it will definitely really help him.
I feel like a lot of things just have to go right. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of it requires a lot of looking in the mirror for Trae Young and buying into like a secondary role where you could just, when the going gets tough, you have him in there to
Mhm.
just, you know, say set like to settle the game down, settle everyone down on offense, and just to have them buy in to try a little bit more on defense where you don't have them be responsible for as much of the scoring load,
Yeah,
but have them buy in a little bit more defensively, have them buy into that sort of pass first guy. So, I
yeah,
mean, they worked with an older, I mean, when I look at the Wolves, like they worked with like an older Mike Conley and he was getting targeted everywhere. He didn't have to score a lot. He just had to settle everything down when the going gets rough. He was that floor general. And now that he's
yeah.
older, they need someone else. That's why this team like the Wolves, they see themselves in that sort of predicament now. Even with the Dallas Mavericks too, same sort of deal. Kyrie gets hurt. All these other ball handlers are not there anymore. That's why they had to put Cooper Flag at point guard.
Yeah,
All these guys, I think can think all these teams think they can get away with not having that floor general, and I think that's the realization that that is a very important archetype in this league is just kind of dying.
I agree. Talk to him
Thank you
nice.
guys for joining us for a very short installment of the pod. We're gonna have some shorts up for you shortly, and tune back in next week. We got a
You want
full
to give him a little,
sledge of stuff to talk about.
yeah, you want to give him a little preview for next week? What are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, we're gonna have our guy Mike on, and we're gonna talk some Lakers ball. So
Woo!
really excited for that one. A lot
Let's
of
go.
defensive struggles, and I've got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. So
A lot of hot
tune
takes
in for
coming
that
for
next
Joe.
week. Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
All right, see you guys.